Okay, so I want to run some dots with y'all. And I hope this video doesn't take too long and I don't start like running off and on a tangent. Remember when the COVID situation happened, okay? 2025, Project 2025 was already on the table. They had plenty of information out about it. But I just want you to think back to when COVID first happened. And the Trumpkin was president, and they told everybody that they were going to send relief money. Now, first of all, the relief money that they sent us was our tax dollars. It wasn't extra money from anywhere. They didn't gift it to us. That was our money that they gave us back. Okay, so get it out your head that they gave us anything, because they didn't. They just gave us back what was ours. Now, they told everybody, don't worry, we know where you are. We can get your bank information off of your last tax return. If anything is different or changed, then you can go onto this website, you can put in your new information, and we'll update it. Plain and simple, very easy peasy, something unlike the bureaucracy of our government that we know. Nobody raised an eyebrow. Nobody said anything about, oh my God, why do they have our bank information? They didn't say in any of my returns that I signed that they were going to be keeping my bank information on file, that it was going to be used for anything or held or remembered or any of that. That was supposed to be stuff that, you use it once and then it disappears. But they had that information. They held on to that information. So they know how each of us bank. They know where each of us are. They know what we do and where we go and how we do it. But that was something that everybody completely overlooked. There was no shouting and screaming and crying about how they were stealing our private information. Everybody was just like, oh yeah, that's great. Now I'm going to get my money and I don't have to do anything but sit back at home and watch. Okay. That, just like the UBI, Universal Basic Income tests that were run, some in towns here in this country and some in other countries, the tests came back successful. They liked what they saw. It's also like, let's see, it was the run up to how we can get these people, what's the word? How can we pry into these people's private lives without them getting upset and them knowing that we have all of this information that we shouldn't have? That's basically what it boiled down to. So we had the checks that were sent out. All of that worked just fine. There was no hitches in the program. Then they went on and did their UBI testing. The UBI testing came back positive. They liked the results. They liked what they saw from it. They're going to keep it in the back of their head. Now, stay with me. Now, they've moved on to, what's the newest test that they're doing? They're simultaneously doing the blockchain test and the SNAP. So the SNAP benefits. Now, we already know there are certain things that we can't buy on SNAP. Not everybody gets SNAP, but the people that do get it already know that there are certain things you can't buy. You can't buy toilet paper. You can't buy paper towels. You can't buy alcohol. You can't buy cleaning supplies. You can't buy a lot of things that are important to you. But it's just for food, so that's fine. Now they've scaled it back. And several states have decided, well, there are certain other food items that you can't have. Now, if they can take certain food and other items off of that list of purchases, they can always add more so that it's very easy for them to direct how and when and where you can get those funds and how you can spend them, right? You with me so far? Okay, good. That was just another test run. That was to get the little people at the bottom that they claim are hot-headed in a control pattern so that they can further accept future situations and scenarios. They're working on the blockchain. They want everybody to get on the blockchain. They want everybody to buy Bitcoin and all kinds of stuff and put your money into it. But people really aren't gravitating towards it. You know, there are some people that might have a little money they might throw around, but excuse me. But for the most part, people are not. Most people don't even know how the blockchain works, or, you know, most people don't even have a Coinbase account or a Robinhood account or any of those other investment accounts. So it's not very clear. It's something that's still an anomaly. So what they've done was they did the test run in New York City, where they gave over 160 people 12,000 USDT. USDC, US dollar coins or crypto. They want them to spend that like regular money, because it's dollars, but it's just on the blockchain as opposed to in a bank. They want to see how the people do. They want to see how they use it, if they can navigate the system, if everything is elementary enough so that they can manage it. Because if you were like me earlier in the adoption of crypto, it was very hard to get on and buy crypto. If you wanted to buy, and I totally ignored the whole Bitcoin craze. But when Ethereum came out, I decided that I would try to buy some. And it was a long process. You had to get an account, and it wasn't like at Coinbase or any of the others. They didn't exist. You had to get an Ethereum account or a MetaMask or something like that. And there was lots of numbers and words involved, and you had to copy and paste a lot of things. You had to download a lot of things. You had to wait for them to get back to you and let you know if you could have the account. It took weeks to buy an Ethereum. Just one little Ethereum, it may have taken you anywhere from a week to a month for it to actually show up, for you to actually see it. So it was very, very involved, very difficult, very, very techy. So they scaled it down. So now you can just go on Coinbase or go on your Robinhood account or wherever, and you can just buy one real quick. Just put your money, pick it, and there it is. So they've really scaled it back for the layman so that everybody can kind of get used to this. So what they need, since the dollar is dead, and since the world has decided that they're not going to play with us anymore for obvious reasons, that I've gotten into with many of my videos. There's the weaponizing the dollar and stealing people's money or countries' monies and holding them and not giving them back. And just doing a lot of shady shit that most people would, go to prison for. The government does to other countries. So now that they've gotten people kind of familiar with the blockchain and the dollar is going through its death throes, they need to transfer everyone from the banking system, the regular banks. And how they're going to do that is over time. They're not going to allow the banks to succeed like they did back when Obama was president. They're going to let the banks fail. A lot of banks are going to disappear, and there will be very few for us to choose from. And within those banks, and this is going to happen over the course of this year and the coming years, leading up to 2030, because all this has to be in place by 2030, I believe. There's a lot of evidence to show that that's the timeline. So they'll let the banks fail, and then they'll go on and they'll allow for the little banks that are still out there to maybe not have too many branches. It'll be hard for you to get into a branch. There'll just be ATMs everywhere. It'll cost you. There'll be a fee for you to deposit cash. There'll be a fee for you to withdraw cash. It'll just be too much. It'll just be a lot of trouble, and it's going to be just nitpicky. And so they want people to gravitate towards the blockchain, and that's what they're going to do. They'll start, open a free account, free transactions, or low-cost transactions, or this, that, and the other. And it will eventually draw lots of people, especially small people who are only getting a little bit of money. You don't want it eaten up by fees for services and nonsense that the bank actually doesn't do. They're just, they're just there. So they need us to transition from the banks to the blockchain. That's all this is about. Now, I'm going to tell you how Venezuela ties into all this, because not only are they going after Venezuela for their resources, like I said before in previous videos, many moons ago, that they were going to go after Mexico for their silver, and they're going after several other countries for their either strategic importance or for minerals. Cuba, they want to go after Cuba for mostly strategic purposes, but there are some minerals in Cuba that we probably could take or harness from them. Not we, them, because I'm not part of these people. I live here, but that's consequence. They needed, now remember, I'm sorry I'm jumping again, I'm sorry. They needed Venezuela because Venezuela has the largest oil deposits in the world. Now see, the United States, everyone knows the dollar is not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold, it's not backed by oil, it's not backed by the military, it's not backed by anything but full faith. You know, you believe in the dollar like you believe in Jesus, okay? Or your God in the sky. You believe in the dollar. That's the only thing keeping it alive, is your belief. Now, the rest of the world has walked away from the dollar. They have created a whole ecosystem where they do not have to deal with the dollar, and they can trade, and they can be happy, and they can do all the things they need to do without being bothered with the dollar or having to clear any of their transactions through New York or any of that. They don't have to answer to the U.S. government. They don't have to answer to the dollar. They don't have to do any of that. They can mind their own damn business like it should have been in the first place. So the dollar needs to be relevant again. And the only way for the government to make the dollar relevant for people to try to invest in it again, because remember, everyone's dumping their bonds and walking away from the dollar, that they have to connect it to something. So if they steal Venezuela and they have their oil, they can put it on the blockchain, and they can tie it to the BitCrap or any other coin that they choose to tie it to. And then they can say, oh, here, you can buy this and you can do it using this crypto. And then, you know, you can pay us in this crypto. And then they'll tie that crypto or whatever it is that they're selling this oil and things through to the dollar. So the dollar has some kind of backing through some kind of chain of events. It's all about having relevance. And right now, the United States is not relevant. They don't have anything that the world needs or wants. So we have to find a way to become relevant again, so that countries will invest in us and so that companies will invest in us. And the one way to do that is the brilliant way that people here in this country think is, oh, we'll just go out and we'll steal. We'll steal other people's things. We'll steal their country. We'll steal everything that they have. We'll colonize their country. We'll take it from them. And then we'll use their resources as our own. And then we can back our dollar by it, and we can get back in the game. All they're trying to do is get back to the poker table. And nobody wants to play with them. Their chips are cheap. They're not worth having, and nobody wants them or needs them. So they need to find a way to make their chips relevant. And this is the way they're trying to do it. They think that if they overthrow a whole bunch of countries that have these resources, that have the most of these resources, then they're locked in and they're safe. Cuba, I don't know what Cuba has the most of except for strategic importance. But Mexico has the most silver in the world. So they're going to want to take Mexico so that the U.S. can have the most silver in the world. They took Venezuela, and they did it because Venezuela has the most oil in the world, and now the U.S. has the most oil in the world. And they think that these are the things that are going to keep them in the game. But all it's going to do is further isolate us and further cause pain and misery to the people who live here, because the government does not care about us, and the government does not care about anything that we're doing other than how much blood they can squeeze out of us turnips. Corporations don't care about us. These rich businessmen and these politicians are one and the same. None of them care about us. So all they're doing is trying to find a way to make themselves stay relevant in the world so that they can continue to fly their jets and do illicit things and have all of the stuff that they want and tell everybody that, look, this is the greatest place on earth, when it's not. It's the shithole that the Trumpkin talked about in one of his presidential races. So I hope you all kind of understand where I was going with that. I hope you can follow. I'm sorry that this video was pushing 16 minutes long. I did not intend for that to happen, but I had to go through the history of events to show you what's going on and why they're doing it. So do your homework. Pay attention to what's happening. Yes, they're going to move us onto the blockchain. Yes, everything that you do is going to be watched and eyed by Uncle Sam. Big Brother is watching, and that is not just a slogan. That is real. They know every single thing that we do, and now they're going to have proof of it. And come time for you to do your taxes, don't worry. In a minute, we won't have to go to the IRS to do our taxes. They'll just do it for us directly from our accounts, whether you got it there or not. So if you have debt, try to get rid of it. If you can't get rid of it, try to manage it, because no good is going to come from it. Things are really, really going to ramp up in a negative way for the citizenry here in this country. The 98%, the little people. So pay attention to what you're doing, watch what they're doing, and notice none of it is done for nothing. And there's always an ulterior motive behind what they do and say. So stay vigilant, pay attention, and also stay safe. Don't freak out and don't get scared, but just take this information as knowledge so that you know how to navigate through the system as it comes. As always, thank you for coming to the Queendom and listening to me share a little bit of insights. Remember, get with your friends, family members, loved ones, people you trust, and find solutions to your everyday problems. I'll talk to you later. Bye.